Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Moviesnips. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the hypothetical world that exists outside of Panem. That is, the world beyond the North American continent, which is home to the capital and its 13 districts. This is a topic that hasn't really been touched upon in any of the novels or films, even though there is some mention of a wandering group of nomads called the Covey, which are mentioned in the prequel novel, The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes, a group that traveled around Panem and the areas outside its borders where the capital held no authority. There are a few possibilities that could explain what happened to the world outside of Panem during the years following the Great Calamities that presumably occurred around 300 years before the events of the first film. The North American continent entered a dystopian state of existence hundreds of years before the events of the Hunger Games series. As for why modern civilization collapsed, the explanation according to the story was always very vague. It's unclear as to what caused the great calamities that occurred before this time period, but they were likely caused by a combination of factors, including climate change, overpopulation, natural disasters, ecological collapse, wars involving weapons of mass destruction, and drastic sea level rise. If you look at it from a worst-case scenario perspective, the only habitable regions of the Earth left would have existed within the confines of the North American continent, and other regions of the world would simply have become too inhospitable for human life. In such a world, Panem and its outlying regions would be the only civilization left on Earth, and no other humans, or very few humans, would exist beyond its borders. In such a world, Panem would have no external threats and would essentially exist as an isolated community on planet Earth. Now let's examine the second and more likely possibility. In this scenario, Panem would be the only major power center on the face of the Earth, but there would still be other less developed centers of human civilization scattered around the world. These communities would probably lack any form of organized government, military force, or higher social order, and would essentially exist on the fringes of society in shanty towns. In such a world, as in the first scenario, Panem wouldn't have any enemies to threaten it and would have no reason to fear the outside world, as it would be the only advanced civilization in existence. An equally likely third possibility that needs to be considered is that Panem isn't the only center of power and influence in the world, and that there are other organized, thriving countries elsewhere on other continents. Panem is a highly authoritarian state and has a reputation for censoring the press and feeding the masses information that suits its own agendas, even if that information is false. Panem could simply be hiding information about the outside world from its population because it wants the public to believe that it's the only remaining country on Earth. In such a world, Panem may have just decided to go it alone and went ahead and pursued an isolationist policy in order to avoid unnecessary confrontations with any remaining powers beyond its borders. Even if there were other countries outside of Panem, they may not have been able to match Panem's technological prowess and military might. These countries, if they existed, would probably be too busy taking care of their own affairs, and would have been adverse to getting bogged down in another war. With the movie adaptation of Collin's prequel book, A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, set to arrive in November 2023, there's now a distinct possibility that the series will directly address the question of what happened to the rest of the world, since much of the new entry story focuses on a young President Snow's time at the Capitol Academy. There's a good chance that world history will be more accessible than it's become by the Hunger Games timeline. After all, if Snow was as powerful a leader as he always made himself out to be, it would make sense if he had more extensive knowledge of the rest of the world's fate in the Hunger Games series. This could add context and dramatic importance to Panem's existence. But what are your thoughts on the world outside of Panem? If you feel I missed anything or would like to add anything to this discussion, please feel free to comment down below. Please also remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and please check out my channel for more sci-fi lore videos.